Picture this. You're a Spanish conquistador marching through dense jungles when suddenly the forest itself seems to come alive with warriors who appear and disappear like ghosts, striking with obsidian-edged weapons before melting back into the green hell around you. Welcome to Maya warfare, where the jungle was their greatest ally and psychological terror was their deadliest weapon. The Maya civilization didn't fight wars the way Europeans expected. While Old World armies clashed in massive formations on open battlefields, Maya warriors perfected a completely different style of combat, designed specifically for their dense jungle environment. But here's what most people don't realize about Maya battle tactics. They weren't trying to annihilate enemy armies in single decisive battles. Their goal was far more sophisticated. Capture high-value targets for ritual sacrifice while demonstrating divine power through psychological warfare. These weren't primitive warriors randomly attacking from the bushes. The Maya developed a complex system of guerrilla warfare tactics that were specifically engineered to exploit the advantages of jungle terrain while maximizing the psychological impact on their enemies. Every ambush, every raid, every siege was carefully planned to serve both military and religious purposes that legitimized rulers through displays of divine favor. The Spanish conquistadors, who eventually encountered Maya, forces wrote detailed accounts of fighting techniques that seemed almost supernatural in their effectiveness. Warriors would appear from nowhere, strike with devastating precision, then vanish back into jungle that seemed to swallow them completely. These weren't exaggerations. They were accurate descriptions of tactics that had been refined through centuries of warfare in one of the world's most challenging combat environments. What made Maya warfare truly ingenious wasn't just their ability to use terrain effectively, but how they integrated military strategy with religious and political objectives. Every battle served multiple purposes: weakening enemies, capturing sacrificial victims, demonstrating royal power, and reinforcing the divine authority of Maya rulers. This multi-layered approach to warfare created tactics that were as psychologically devastating as they were militarily effective. The art of the jungle ambush. The dense rainforest environment of Maya territory was their greatest tactical advantage, and they exploited it with a sophistication that would impress modern special forces. The jungle canopy blocked out most sunlight, creating a twilight world where visibility was limited to just a few yards in any direction. Sound was muffled by thick vegetation, making it nearly impossible to detect approaching enemies until they were close enough to strike. Maya warriors became masters of moving silently through this environment, learning to navigate by subtle signs that would be invisible to outsiders. They could identify safe paths through swamps, recognize the sounds that indicated enemy movement, and use natural camouflage so effectively that they could remain hidden just yards away from passing enemies. The ambush tactics developed by Maya forces were incredibly sophisticated and well coordinated. Rather than simply attacking from hiding, they would set up complex traps that channeled enemy forces into predetermined killing zones. Warriors would be positioned at multiple levels, some hidden in the undergrowth, others concealed in trees above the trail, and still others positioned to block escape routes. Coordination of these attacks required extensive planning and communication systems that allowed widely dispersed forces to strike simultaneously. Maya warriors used bird calls, animal sounds, and other natural noises to signal attack timing and coordinate movements. The result was attacks that seemed to come from everywhere at once, creating panic and confusion among enemies who couldn't determine where the threats were coming from. The psychological impact of jungle ambushes was as important as their physical effectiveness. Enemies never knew when an attack might come, creating constant stress and fear that wore down morale over time. The knowledge that Maya warriors could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning, made even routine movements through Maya territory a terrifying experience. Weapons specifically designed for jungle warfare gave Maya ambush tactics additional effectiveness. Short spears and clubs were more maneuverable in dense vegetation than long weapons. Obsidian-edged weapons could inflict devastating wounds that bled profusely, creating visual horror that demoralized surviving enemies. Blowguns with poison darts allowed silent kills that eliminated sentries without alerting main forces. Psychological warfare, through terror. The elaborate costumes worn by Maya warriors weren't just decorative. They were sophisticated psychological weapons designed to strike fear into enemy hearts. Warriors would dress as jaguars, eagles, and other powerful animals, transforming themselves into supernatural beings that seemed more than human. The sight of these terrifying figures emerging from the jungle was often enough to break enemy morale before actual fighting began. Jaguar warriors were particularly feared because jaguars were associated with night, death, and the underworld in Maya religion. Warriors wearing jaguar pelts and masks didn't just look frightening. They embodied the spiritual power of one of the jungle's most dangerous predators. The psychological effect was amplified by the fact that many enemies shared similar religious beliefs about jaguar symbolism. Sound warfare was another crucial element of Maya psychological tactics. Warriors would use drums, trumpets, whistles, and war cries to create a cacophony of noise that was both disorienting and terrifying. The sounds would echo through the jungle in ways that made it impossible to determine how many attackers were present or where they were located. Ritual elements integrated into warfare served both religious and psychological purposes. Maya warriors would perform ceremonies before battles that were designed to invoke divine protection while demonstrating their spiritual power to enemies. The knowledge that Maya forces had the backing of powerful gods added another layer of psychological pressure on opposing forces. Decapitation and dismemberment of captured enemies wasn't just brutality. It was calculated psychological warfare designed to terrorize survivors and demonstrate Maya power. The heads of important captives would be displayed prominently to show what happened to those who opposed Maya forces. This practice was so effective that many enemies would surrender rather than risk similar treatment. Siege warfare. With a twist, Maya siege tactics were adapted to the realities of jungle warfare and the architectural features of Maya cities. Rather than using massive siege engines like European armies, Maya forces developed techniques that exploited the specific vulnerabilities of Maya defensive systems while working within the constraints of jungle terrain. Water supply disruption was one of the most effective siege techniques used by Maya forces. Many Maya cities depended on cenotes, natural sinkholes, or constructed reservoirs for their water supply. By controlling or contaminating these water sources, besieging forces could force cities to surrender without direct assault. This technique was particularly effective because it avoided the heavy casualties that would result from attacking well-fortified positions. Supply line interdiction was another crucial element of Maya siege warfare. Cities under siege needed constant supplies of food, weapons, and other materials from surrounding areas. Maya forces would establish ambush points along supply routes, using their jungle warfare expertise to intercept supply convoys and gradually starve defending forces into submission. Scaling techniques developed by Maya warriors allowed them to overcome the high walls and steep pyramids that characterized Maya defensive architecture. Using ropes, wooden ladders, and human pyramids, attacking forces could reach the tops of walls and buildings that seemed impregnable. The ability to attack from unexpected directions, including from above, gave Maya forces significant tactical advantages. Fire warfare was used selectively in siege situations, taking advantage of the fact that many Maya buildings had thatched roofs and wooden elements that could be ignited. Fire arrows and burning projectiles could create chaos within defended positions, while forcing defenders to divide their attention between fighting fires and repelling attackers. Capturing the king. The ultimate prize. The primary objective of Maya warfare wasn't killing enemy soldiers. It was capturing high-ranking nobles, especially rulers, for ritual sacrifice. This focus on capture rather than killing created unique tactical approaches that prioritized precision strikes against specific targets over general battlefield destruction. Intelligence gathering was crucial for identifying and locating high-value targets. Maya forces would use spies, scouts, and informants to determine when and where important enemies would be vulnerable to capture attempts. This intelligence network allowed them to plan operations specifically designed to take particular individuals alive. Specialized capture techniques were developed to subdue important enemies without killing them. Warriors trained in non-lethal combat methods could disable opponents using clubs, nets, and grappling techniques that left captives alive but helpless. These skills required extensive training and practice to master effectively. Coordinated operations designed to capture specific individuals involved multiple teams with different roles. Some warriors would create diversions to draw attention away from the main target. Others would eliminate bodyguards and clear escape routes. The capture team itself would focus exclusively on subduing the target without causing fatal injuries. The symbolic importance of capturing enemy rulers went far beyond military considerations. A captured king represented proof that the Maya ruler had divine favor and supernatural power. The public sacrifice of captured royalty demonstrated the victor's connection to the gods and legitimized their authority over both their own people and conquered territories. Coordinated multi-front attacks. Maya military organization allowed for sophisticated coordinated attacks that could strike multiple targets simultaneously across wide geographic areas. This capability required advanced planning, communication systems, and logistical support that demonstrated the high level of military sophistication achieved by Maya civilization. Elite warrior units formed the core of Maya military forces and were responsible for the most challenging and important operations. These warriors received extensive training in specialized combat techniques, weapons handling, and tactical coordination. They were equipped with the finest weapons and armor available and held high social status within Maya society. Communication networks allowed Maya commanders to coordinate complex operations across distances that would challenge modern military forces. Using relay systems of runners, signal fires, and coded messages, Maya forces could synchronize attacks and respond to changing tactical situations in near real time. Logistical support for multi-front operations required sophisticated supply systems that could maintain fighting forces in the field for extended periods. Maya armies needed food, water, weapons, medical supplies, and replacement equipment delivered to forward positions in jungle terrain, where transportation was extremely difficult. Tactical flexibility was built into Maya military doctrine, allowing forces to adapt quickly to changing battlefield conditions. Units could shift from ambush tactics to direct assault, from siege operations to mobile warfare. depending on the specific requirements of each situation. This adaptability made Maya forces extremely difficult for enemies to counter effectively. Skirmisher tactics and ranged combat. Atlatl specialists formed a crucial component of Maya military forces, providing long-range striking capability that could engage enemies before they could close to hand-to-hand combat range. These spear throwers could achieve ranges exceeding 150 yards with accuracy that made them deadly against both individual targets and formed units. Coordinated volleys of atlatl darts could break up enemy formations and create casualties before close combat began. Maya forces would typically open engagements with ranged attacks designed to disrupt enemy organization and morale. The psychological effect of seeing comrades fall to invisible attackers was often as important as the physical casualties inflicted. Mobility tactics allowed Maya skirmishers to strike and withdraw before enemies could respond effectively. These light forces could move quickly through jungle terrain that would slow down heavier units, allowing them to attack from unexpected directions and disappear before retaliation was possible. Ammunition variety gave Maya ranged weapons additional tactical flexibility. Different types of dart points were used for different targets. Broad obsidian heads for unarmored opponents, narrow armor-piercing points for protected enemies, and barbed points designed to cause maximum bleeding and psychological impact. Sling warfare provided Maya forces with an additional range capability that was particularly effective in jungle environments. Slingers could use locally available stones as ammunition and could achieve high rates of fire that created continuous pressure on enemy forces. The ability to operate effectively with minimal logistical support made slingers valuable for extended operations. Naval and amphibious operations. Maya naval capabilities allowed them to project military power along coastlines and river systems, extending their tactical options beyond purely land-based operations. Large war canoes could transport significant numbers of warriors quickly and quietly, allowing for surprise attacks against coastal settlements and river communities. Amphibious assault techniques were developed to allow Maya forces to attack from unexpected directions, using water approaches that enemies might not adequately defend. Warriors could approach targets silently in canoes, then launch coordinated attacks that caught defenders off guard. River warfare was particularly important in Maya territory, where numerous waterways provided transportation routes that were often faster and more efficient than overland travel. Control of key river systems allowed Maya forces to move supplies and reinforcements quickly, while denying these advantages to enemies. Combined operations that integrated naval and land forces could achieve objectives that neither could accomplish alone. Naval forces could provide transportation, supply, and fire support for land operations, while land forces could secure coastal bases and protect naval assets from counterattack. Intelligence and reconnaissance. Scout networks provided Maya military commanders with detailed information about enemy movements, capabilities, and intentions. These intelligence systems were crucial for planning effective operations and avoiding enemy traps or ambushes. Infiltration techniques allowed Maya agents to gather information from within enemy territories and settlements. Disguised as traders, pilgrims, or refugees, these operatives could observe enemy preparations and identify vulnerabilities that could be exploited in future operations. Counterintelligence measures protected Maya plans and capabilities from enemy discovery. False information could be planted to mislead enemy commanders, while security procedures prevented the compromise of sensitive operational details. The Maya's most ingenious battle tactics weren't just clever adaptations to jungle warfare, They were sophisticated military innovations that integrated combat effectiveness with religious and political objectives. Their success in developing these tactics proves that the most effective military strategies often come from understanding your environment and using it to your advantage rather than fighting against it. Modern military strategists studying Maya warfare techniques have found principles that remain relevant for contemporary conflict situations. The emphasis on psychological warfare, the integration of intelligence gathering with tactical operations, and the focus on achieving specific political objectives through military means all offer lessons for modern military organizations. The legacy of Maya military innovation reminds us that the greatest tactical achievements don't always require the most advanced technology. They require the most advanced thinking about how to achieve your objectives using the resources and environment available to you.